Hello. So let's take a look on how we can neutralize our MACBA chart, which comes from a shoot, for example, like we have a series of images that we want to use for texturing, and we also shot a MACBA chart, and we want to make sure the colors are as neutral as possible. So what I tend to do, I usually load what is the ideal, let's say, MACBA chart. And these swatches here have the ideal values if it's shot in neutral lighting condition. And you can find this on Nukepedia as a gizmo that you can download, which is very handy. And what you want to make sure when you load the gizmo is you pick up the MACBA chart which corresponds to the color space you're working on. We're working on ACCG, and the color checker version that corresponds to, or at least is close to, the one you're using. So you can choose between before 2014 and after November 2014. Okay, so then what I do, because it helps me a lot, I just, put a simple merge node and transform the color checker to be on top of the ideal color checker to be on top of the one that has been shot. And in like this, you can enable and disable. And before we start working it, let's take a look and see what's going on to just get a better idea of what we have to do. So maybe at first look, they might feel fairly similar, but when we start pushing a bit of saturation here, and this control on the top, they only affect the viewers. So when you render, they will not be baked into your final image. They're quite handy to play with, to just diagnose and take a look at your image. For example, now, we can see that our reference feels way more blue. Sorry, that our image shot feels way more blue than the reference MACBA chart, which might have been a bit harder to see at naked eye. So let's take a look on how we can neutralize it. There is a couple of ways. I'm going to show you a simpler one, and then we're going to try another one to get a better match. So the first method I mostly use is I just do a grade node, and then we disable it. So when we sample, the viewer doesn't go disco. And I just go where it says white point and pick the values of my image that has been shot at the neutral gray swatch, which these bits here, depending on your MACBA chart, might be in different position, but the neutral gray swatch will always be the third one from the black and the fourth one from the white. Let's take a look and sample. And if you don't see the sampling area like me, is because you have overlay off, so you can press Q on your keyboard to show it, and Control Shift to drag an area as big as you can, and try to avoid the borders. And these values here will be the average of the pixels that are included in this red square. So now we disable here the picker, and then we want to basically get this to be on a close match to the other one. So we're going to basically remap the value of this and try to get them to match our gray square of the ideal MACBA chart. So let's go back to our grade node, and we want to remap the white point to the gain. So here we draw another square, and it doesn't matter how big you make it here because these are always the same value. You can see if you move around, the values down here are not changing. Okay, so we unpick, and now let's view, and this is before, and now I'm going to enable the node, and this is after. And if we, we can see that we got a closer match. And if I press D to enable and disable the node, we can see what's going on. Let's do a swipe, and let's check the values to compare. So to do a swipe in Nuke, you're basically going to swipe the viewer between two portions of the graph. So I press 1 here to view this bit, and 2 to view the other bit in the viewer, and then you need to click this little icon here, and it's going to swipe between the two. And again, if you don't see the line, is because I got overlay off. So I press Q, and here I can do a swipe to take a look. Now we can do a Control Shift, and you've seen now the line here has changed. It's sampling the values, and they get quite close to each other. We got like the one on the left is our ideal MACBA chart usually. So we got 19 1989, which is roughly 19 on the top, and on the bottom we got 0.189, 0.189, 0.18. So it is fairly close. And let's take a look at the black levels. Sorry, the black swatch down here. And this is a bit different. We got 0.031, 31, 0.032. And now we're 0.039, 0.049, 0.041. And if we take a look at the white, we got 87, 88, 84, 82, 81, 75. And when I'm looking, rather than, you know, like, it's the relationship between the three values. If all values were down by the same, let's say this was 81, 81, 81, and this one is 52, 52, 52, I could just put, you know, an exposure node and raise it up and down, but we can see that there's a discrepancy in colors. And if I now expose that though, and sorry, if I like put a bit more saturation, saturate up, that's what I meant. It went the other way. Here we go. We take a look, and we see we are effectively closer than what we were before. There is a slight difference. This might be acceptable or not, but let's try another method instead.